Let's start with the president's plan to mandate vaccines. From your standpoint, do you think that will help the economy move forward, get maybe more people back into the workforce who are hesitant?
Look, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, look, not everyone's going to decide that they're going to get vaccinated. Some folks will just decide that they're going to exit the workforce or go try to do something else. I think that's the reality of it. But the more people that get vaccinated, the better our economy is going to be able to stabilize and move forward. And frankly, the safer people are going to be in the workforce. And so I don't think there's any doubt that it's going to push us forward.
And could you say the same for about federal unemployment benefits now that those have gone away? Do you think that will also push people back into the workforce? I know employers are still having a hard time finding people.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Almost every client that I have is telling us that they can't find enough workers to fill the positions that they have open. You know, I think that the expiration of the unemployment insurance benefits is going to be a positive, but it's not the only thing. You combine that with, kids going back to school. Some families had to stay home as a result of their kids being at home. And then frankly, us just getting ahead of COVID-19. I don't think we can discount the fact that there's a lot of folks that were just nervous about COVID-19. They were taking care of someone that's sick at home, or they had something that they were concerned about for themselves, and that kept them on the sidelines. What we are seeing is that as we get ahead of COVID-19, that the folks that are participating in our labor force are starting to increase again, and that's frankly the best sign we could have.
Mortgage payments are starting to crank back up after they were put on pause for a time. Do you see that as causing any problems in our housing market?
Yeah, mortgage payments and rents. Look, do I think that's going to cause a problem in our housing market? No, not necessarily. I mean, I think what it is going to cause is some decrease in consumer spending as a result of the fact that some folks have been able to spend that money on things other than rent and their mortgage, and now they're going to have to be paying those rents and those mortgage. Are we going to have some instability, some increased evictions? Of course we are. I think that's to be expected. That having been said, I don't think it's going to be an avalanche of evictions that is going to turn our housing market upside down.
And where do you see the market going? I mean, are we beginning to see prices cool off, or are things still red hot?
Yeah, look, I mean, they're still red hot in a number of ways. We are seeing some segments of the market that are showing some signs of cooling. And frankly, John, it's unsustainable at the level we've had over the past 6 months. You know, the thing that is going to ultimately cool the housing market is going to be an increase in interest rates. And that is inevitable because they are at near historic lows. So we're sort of pulling some of that demand forward. Look, there's no doubt that the housing market is going to come off of some of the increases in pricing escalation that we've seen, because double-digit over double-digit increases are just unsustainable. So frankly, it's cooling off, and we're really glad to see that.
Another issue for a lot of families is inflation. The prices that they're paying at the gas pumps, at the grocery stores, all up. People have said originally that was sort of a short-term thing, but yet it keeps persisting.
Yeah, look, I do think it's going to be a short-term thing, but what short-term means to you and what short-term means to me could be very different things, right? I think that inflation is going to be with us for a little while because we've pumped over $5 trillion into the economy, so we have more money chasing the goods that are out there. To say nothing of the fact that businesses are ramping back up and being able to get all the materials that they need, and the labor that they need is becoming more expensive, and that's putting upward pressure on pricing. But I do believe that the economy is ultimately going to get back to normal. And the reasons why inflation has remained largely in check for the past 20, 30 years are largely going to be the reasons it'll stay in check going forward. But in the short run, and that short run could be a year, 18 months, we're going to be dealing with some escalation in pricing. And you're right. People are seeing greater prices at the pumps. They're seeing greater prices at the in grocery stores. You know, and businesses are certainly dealing with it as well. I realize it's very uncomfortable. We're going to see it for a little while.
And where is the Las Vegas economy right now?
Well, overall, I think the Las Vegas economy is doing much better than when you and I talked 6 months ago, but it still has a fair amount of instability built into it. You know, the Delta variant also, after we had a pretty good uptick and a nice trend going throughout most of the summer, the Delta variant sort of hit us with a little of a twist. To the trend of our recovery. We're seeing a decrease in Dutches, and we're seeing, like we see over the front end of that, it can remain relatively strong without too much instability as a result of being a little concerned about masks. You can see some stabilization coming out of all that stimulus, maybe a part of that being new infrastructure spending that we're seeing. I like our chances getting into the end of 2021.
Okay, I'm gonna ask that question again only because we had some buffering issues on our end. I just want to make sure that we've got it down solid before I let you go.
Yeah, no problem.
Let me ask it this way. Where do you see the economy and where do you see it compared to what your expectations of where you thought we would be by this point?
Sure. To be honest with you, we're right about where we thought we would be. You know, we expected that the recovery cycle would be somewhere between 18 and 36 months. We're about 18 months into that. We saw a great trend during most of the summer. Visitors coming back, retail spending going up, unemployment rate dropping. The Delta variant gave us a little bit of a curveball relative to that and slowed things down a little bit. Right now, we feel like we're getting ahead of the Delta variant. It tends to run in about 6-week stretches, and we've seen a decline, and I'm very optimistic in terms of how we end 2021.
All right, Jeremy Aguero, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll certainly do this again and again and again as we move forward.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here, and whenever you need me, you just need to reach out.